So we go to get up that ski slope there.
Pizza, French fries.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Cancer Corner. And I will just start by saying this run isn't on my training plan, so sorry Ben. But just look at the weather. Look at that. After all those days of crap, snow and sleet and rubbish, it's just too good not to go for a run. It's worth pointing out it's nearly 2 o'clock as well. Today has been pretty difficult so far. I've missed a couple of days of the training plan, which was strength and conditioning work, yoga, flexibility and things like that, which was planned in on purpose because I was never going to get out while I was on the chemo. But certainly the last day or two of tablets and the 2 days following them have hit me really hard this month, so this I always find helps to get out, just go for a run, almost just blow the cobwebs out, and gives you good motivation to kick on from there. But even though it's like really easy for the legs, it's quite taxing for the heart just because the drugs are still doing their thing and making you feel like crap. Today I want to go through what I've kind of done for the last 5 months, how my sort of training has progressed, and I'll show you sort of the Strava log, and you'll be able to kind of see how I've structured it so far, and then hopefully we can revisit this later on after I've got a few months of Ben's coaching plan under my belt, and we can see how different it is sort of between me just doing what I can when I can compared to following a professional coach's plan who actually knows what they're doing. So one thing I learned early on when I first started getting into this seriously, and I first came across channels like sort of, well, like Ben's channel, people like Ben Parks and stuff, I was only really running at the time. So you can kind of see the graph on Strava that'll pop up on the screen starting about May. Now this was about the time when I was looking to start my training plan for the Yorkshire Marathon. It was before I already started multi-sport training, and I was just following a Runkeeper plan. It's free. If you download Runkeeper on your phone, you can put in a target marathon date and it'll spit out a plan for you. And I've used them a couple of times and they are really good. They'll get you through it easy enough. Oh, I've got a roadblock ahead. So around about May time, I've got past that. That was when sort of lockdown started sort of picking up a little bit, sort of back end of April, and that was when I decided actually I'm going to have a lot more time on my hands, so it was as good a time as any to start going for the Ironman. And I started looking a little bit more seriously into training and coaching for that. Now pretty quickly, obviously I learned from watching videos around YouTube from other coaches and things, I learned pretty fast that you can't just go balls out from the start all the way to the Ironman and expect to be in good shape for it, or expect not to get injured for that matter. And I kind of knew that you had to sort of separate things into blocks from sort of training for marathons in the past. So yeah, in the June time was when I got the phone call saying I had to go back for more treatment. At first we weren't really sure what that entailed, but after meeting the consultant neurosurgeon, he pretty quickly said, we'd rather do surgery. So I knew I was getting brain surgery again. So that's where the new scar came from. So you can kind of see it slowly building up towards July, because that was when it really gave me a kick in the arse. I thought, I need to be as fit as I can going into that surgery, because, well, for starters, practicality, COVID was kicking around, operations were getting cancelled and things because of COVID, and I didn't want to be one of those. So staying as fit as I could, and to be honest, I mean, look around us, I'm not going to catch COVID off anyone out here, there's nobody here. So that was one thing. Secondly, recovery times, the fitter you are, easier it is to recover from surgery, from the anaesthetic, everything. And then thirdly was on the recommendation of the anaesthetist. Obviously the fitter you are, the safer anaesthetic is. So he suggested it would be a good idea, so that's what we did. So following that first meeting with the doctor, that was pretty much my next sort of 2 months run up the surgery plan. So it wasn't anything too crazy, it was just slowly increasing the volume. I didn't want to go to hospital sore either, so we just slowly increased the volume up to the surgery date. After the surgery we got the biopsy results back, which told us it was a malignant mass again, and that was when we had to start thinking about how we were going to plan around chemotherapy. So into the chemo. Now the chemotherapy was a bit of an unknown at first, because although I'd had chemo once before, there was no guarantee they were going to give me the same drug. Actually at the early days it was basically, well, you've had that chemotherapy once and your tumours come back, we might try a different one. But when the oncologist looked through the old scans and the old info, he said you could actually see the temozolomide, which is what I got eventually for a second time, was actually really effective against the type of cancer that I had. So it could have been a lot worse if I got given something else. So that made it a bit easy because I kind of knew what to expect. Now, the temozolomide for me was a 6-month course where it was of a 4-week rotation, where there was essentially a week of tablets and then you had 3 weeks off, which kind of makes it quite easy for me to structure in a regular sort of build and rest phase, which a lot of athletes do. I mean, a lot of athletes do sort of 3 on 1 off, 4 on 1 off. So I kind of just fell into that. I thought, well, actually 3 on 1 off makes perfect sense for me, and that's what I did. So you can kind of see, running along the chart, 3 weeks where the training volume builds, and then obviously the week where I'm on the chemotherapy, that training volume totally drops off down to almost 0. I am just looking at my Strava data this morning. There hasn't been a week where it's been nothing, but it goes down to about a couple of hours, probably from peaking around 9 or 10 hours, and then it tails right off. So for me there was a pretty consistent 5 days where they're just, you see them on my Strava chart. My training log is public, so if you want to have a look at it you can just jump on and see it. And there's probably somewhere between 5 and 6 days while I'm on the drugs where there's no training at all, like nothing, not even basic strength and conditioning stuff. And the drugs tend to accumulate in your system, building up to a peak around about the 4th or 5th dose. I mean, my dose for the last month 5, was actually, I think, 10 or 20 milligrams a day higher than all the previous ones. So this is kind of like the peak of my chemo, of the concentration of my system. I mean, I finished it a few days ago now, I still feel horrendous. Now, volume wise for me, I don't know where I got it from, but in my head I kind of figured 10 hours a week was a good target to aim for base. Obviously going forward, given that I've got ambitions of hopefully getting a quota one day, that 10 hours is going to have to go up. But for base training I figured that was a good idea to go for, and it's got me in really good shape. But even at 10 hours, you can't just go from doing a couple hours a week to doing 10 hours, you'll just injure yourself. That's kind of slowly progressed. I mean, for the bulk of that I would probably say I was doing 6 or 7 hours a week. The vast majority of that has just been slow, easy stuff with some strength workouts built in, especially on the bike. And the exception being was when I was trying to get through all the Zwift Academy stuff, because what I didn't want to be doing was building up towards like a maximum amount of hours towards the end of the month, but doing that at high intensity and arriving at my chemo appointments absolutely dead. So even the week where, or the month rather, where I did the marathon at Hardwick, I even I made sure that there was rest days before, rest days afterwards, before I went in to get my drugs for the chemotherapy week. And to be honest, that week was actually probably one of the better ones as far as taking my tablets was concerned. I felt pretty good for most of it, but because of the marathon, you felt tired from that as well, so you didn't have itchy feet to go out and push yourself when you probably should have been sat down relaxing. It did really really help, and that's something I can recommend to anybody else going through chemotherapy, is put some sort of little goal towards the midpoint, and it gives you a nice little milestone to aim for. So for the last 5 months, that's how I've kind of negotiated my way through my chemotherapy, and still managed to, well, I think, build a pretty good base for the Ironman training ahead. Being on chemotherapy isn't really conducive to peak performance athletically, but it is doable. I've mentioned it before, but look at Lance Armstrong. Forget about all the other stuff that happened, that he did over his career and that, with all the PD use and stuff. But he went through cancer treatment and he came out the other side of the machine. And I don't care what you take for performance enhancing wise, no drug's going to turn a donkey into a racehorse. So there we are, run done, about 50 minutes, super easy, covered 5.6 miles, and like I was saying, I'm not going to lie, it's difficult training through chemotherapy. I mean, as I've said in the past, training for an Ironman is difficult anyway, and it's made much harder by having to do this every 4 weeks. If you don't take time off to recover while you're on the chemotherapy, for starters, you're going to get really poor quality training. And secondly, you're just going to make yourself ill and you're going to burn out. So, in a lot of the runs there that I do are things like this today. I mean, it's just really easy going. Running around feeling like shit at the end of your chemo cycle, they're not really going to be the miles that are going to carry you at the end of the Ironman. But for the sake of your mental health, getting out, enjoying the day. I mean, the sun was just too good to not take advantage of today. And for keeping that momentum up, and to just give you the kick on to think, right, this is the next goal, this is our next build phase, and get into it. So if you're finding this video, if it's something you're interested in, if you've learned something from it, if you think this information is going to be of help to you, please give it a thumbs up. I really do want to get this sort of information to as many people as I can get it to. But I'll just leave it there. It's I'll just add, obviously, my Strava profile. It's all public. You can go and have a look, see what I've been up to and things like that if you're interested in that sort of thing. If you have any questions or if you've got anything that you want me to touch on, feel free to drop it in the comments below. I'll try and get back to as many as I can, and obviously it helps people see the video as well, so it's a bit of a benefit to myself. And I'll catch you next time. Thanks very much.